Thank you very much indeed, Mr Deputy Speaker. I must say I too am delighted that this bill has been the occasion for our return to proper voting procedures in this House. Mr Deputy Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be read a third time. I am very grateful to all our honourable and right honourable members who have participated in the passage of this legislation, particularly in committee. May I thank also the committee's chairs, the right honourable member for Romsey and Southampton North and the member for Makerfield, for helping the committee to take the bill through its scrutiny stages so effectively. If I may, I'd like to begin by reminding the House of the bill's provisions and overarching goals. It contains 4 measures: an employer NICS relief for employees in free ports, an employer NICS relief for employers of veterans, an exemption for test and trace support payments from self-employed NICS, and changes to disclosure of tax avoidance schemes legislation with regard to NICS. In addition to these measures, the Government has tabled a minor technical amendment that ensures the policy intent is met in the bill. As you will be aware from your intimate scrutiny of the bill, Mr Deputy Speaker, the employer NICS relief applies to employees in free ports. The measure will support the delivery of the Government's free ports programme, and in so doing it will help to attract new businesses to free ports and regenerate communities by creating jobs, boosting investment and spreading posterity. It's the Government's intention to designate free ports in all 4 devolved nations. Therefore, while the legislation currently provides for relief in England, Wales and Scotland, it is the Government's intention to legislate for this relief in Northern Ireland as soon as it is practicable. And in fact, this bill gives the Government the power to set out the detail of the employer NICS relief in Northern Ireland in secondary legislation once engagement with the Northern Ireland Executive is complete. Secondly, the bill contains an employer NICS relief for employers of veterans. Mr Deputy Speaker, I don't need to tell you that our veterans have provided extraordinary national service, as recent events have reminded us. But we know that some of them face difficulties in obtaining secure and fulfilling employment. It is only right that we do all we can to change this situation. This measure provides full employer NICS relief on earnings up to £50,270 in a veteran's first full year of civilian employment. It amounts to a saving of up to £5,500 per hired veteran, and it will constitute a real boost to their employment prospects. Thirdly, there is the exemption for test and trace support payments for self-employed NICS. As members will recall, and as we have recapitulated already, last September the Government announced a £500 support payment in England for low-income individuals told to self-isolate but who could not work from home and would lose income as a result. Shortly afterwards, the Scottish and Welsh governments announced similar schemes. Last year, we introduced regulation to exempt payments under the support schemes from employee and employer Class 1 and 1A NICS. This bill will extend the exemption to the self-employed. It will ensure that these workers are treated consistently with their employed counterparts and that they do not have to pay NICS on support payments. It will retrospectively exempt test and trace support payments from Class 2 and Class 4 NICS for the 2021 tax year, and it will ensure that in future these test and trace support payments will not be included in profits liable to Class 2 and Class 4 NICS. And finally, the bill includes a measure that makes changes to the disclosure of tax avoidance schemes regime for NICS. Legislation in the Finance Bill 2021 enhanced the operation of the DOTAS, as it is known, regime, and this NICS bill includes changes to an existing regulation-making power in the Social Security Administration Act 1992. This will ensure that HMRC can act decisively when promoters fail to provide information on suspected avoidance schemes. It will also enable HMRC to warn taxpayers about suspected avoidance schemes at an earlier stage than at present. Mr Deputy Speaker, as I've outlined, this bill contains a range of relatively small yet significant measures that will advance this Government's policy objectives. It supports the levelling up agenda and regional growth, it boosts the prospects of our armed services veterans, and it strengthens the Government's powers to tackle promoters of avoidance schemes. If I may, I would reiterate my very strong and sincere thanks to members who have engaged in the series of stimulating discussions and debates we've had on these measures over the past few weeks. And on that note, I commend the bill to the House.
The question is that